My name's Adam Van Koeverden, and I'm the Liberal Member of Parliament for Milton. I got involved in politics to help people. I feel that people need a voice, and they deserve one that is a good listener first. And I think that being an MP is a good kind of combination of good listening skills, but also good executive capacity. So you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to take a diverse group of opinions, because no two people have the exact same opinion on anything. But then also distill that down to what's really important for your community, and then get something done for them. So I loved being on Team Canada when I was an athlete, and I wanted something similar to do where I was part of something bigger than myself and contributing to progress, and that's why I found federal politics. It's been a short and a long 3 years, I suppose. It's been a little bit more than 3 years now since I was elected first in 2019, and a lot has happened too. I want to acknowledge that the last 3 years has been like an extraordinarily difficult time for Canadians for a lot of reasons. Canada is an extremely diverse country with diverse needs and diverse challenges. I don't think the pandemic or any of the aftermath of COVID-19 has impacted two people exactly the same, but Canada's going through a tough time right now financially, and I've been there for my community when they call and when they need to know, even just as a directory, right? Like, hey, I'm struggling, my family needs a little bit of help, and what can you do for me? So I suppose the thing that I'm most proud of is assembling a team in Milton that's capable of serving the needs of my community. I know that when I come back after a few weeks in Ottawa, I can tell they're doing good work because there's a lot of flowers and chocolate in the office, which means they're getting stuff done for our community, and that's really, really important to me. That's the first and most important thing, that we've established a good working relationship, and everybody in the office knows exactly what their job is, and they do it so well. That's it. You know what? That's an interesting question, because if I can get candid, when I had a goal, which was just getting a race done as quickly as possible or getting a medal at a competition, my objective was really, really clear every day. I had a workout to do. I had a race to win. It was very, very obvious what my job was. And in politics, sometimes it's a bit more gray. You know, you always want to stand up for people. You want to make sure that you're doing good work. But I think the quest, the journey of identifying exactly what my job is every day and learning something new kind of motivates me the most, because it's a job similar to a country that I don't think is really ever done. Like, there's a few tasks and objectives that I might complete throughout a week or over the month, but the work is so ongoing that I guess I'm motivated most by the opportunity to both develop and serve at the same time. I learned a lot about politics only after getting elected as a member of parliament, because I didn't work in politics before at all. Primarily, I mean, I did work a little bit in sport politics, so I was an athlete representative with the Canadian Olympic Committee, and I served as the chair for the COC's Athlete Commission for about 9 years. So that gave me a taste of representing other people's views and making sure that we stand up for each other, and making sure that the most quiet voices get amplified, making sure that those concerns are heard. But there's a lot of things that I've learned in the last 3 years being an MP, mostly that we're just all Swiss Army knives. And, you know, you've got to learn a little bit about everything. Kayaking and trying to be the best in the world at the 500-meter race in my sport was so specific. And being an MP is a lot more like, you know, going an inch deep and a mile wide on every issue and subject. So I enjoy that learning process and that opportunity to grow a little bit, because one of the coolest things that we get to do as members of parliament is constantly sit down with experts and hear their advice. There have been quite a few opportunities, actually, that I've had the chance to work with members from other parties. I worked with my friend Taylor Bachrach from the NDP to stand up for people over 16 who would like the ability to vote. I'm a strong believer that if you're able to drive a car, if you're able to get a license or sign up to be in the Army, then you should also have the ability to vote. That bill didn't pass, but I still believe that younger people should have the opportunity to vote. It's also kind of a pragmatic thing. I believe that younger people should be able to vote because before they go off to college or university, if they start a new habit, they're more likely to do it for the rest of their lives. But there's been other opportunities too, with a couple of friends, just doing videos together to promote, you know, interests. I sit on a Dutch parliamentary friendship group with some other MPs with heritage in the Netherlands. I'm trying to start one on my mom's side of the family is Hungarian, and so we're working with the Hungarian ambassador as well. But it's important to recognize that despite what you might see in the newspaper or see on television during the question period, I'd say 90% of members of parliament agree on 80 or 90% of what's right. And we really do let the minutiae and the sort of tips of the normal curve get in the way sometimes. But as soon as the cameras are off or not in question period anymore, we actually get along quite well. And I think we all recognize that progress is a mutual ambition of all of us. It's a really good question. I think it's kind of timely right now around what are the threats to democracy. We're seeing a lot of that around the world. Wars started through mis and disinformation platforms. We're seeing interference in our elections, and that's something that we all have an obligation to stand up against. But I think the federal government has a very real obligation to ensure that we're protecting our democracy. And I think for the most part, this government's done a good job over the last 7 years in doing that, but there's more to be done, which is clear based on the news that we've been seeing. So I'm proud of the fact that we've taken new steps to challenge the notion that your vote doesn't matter. I think that's one of the biggest threats to democracy is it drives apathy. When people believe that they can't make a difference, that's where that interference actually starts to take hold. I want people to be engaged, to feel like their representatives are hearing them and that their vote counts and matters. So whatever we can do to ensure that young people particularly feel engaged in the process and want to cast a ballot and get democratic in other ways as well, the more we can do that, the better. The next generation gives me hope for the next generation. When I'm in schools, and you mentioned to me earlier that it's good to get into schools as a politician. I think it's so important. The reason that I do it is because young people don't have a vote, but they do have a voice. And I think it's actually an obligation of elected people to get in front of kids so that we can hear directly from them about their concerns and their insights. Because they actually have the most invested in the world. They're going to live here for 60, 70, 80 more years, whereas I may be halfway through my life and my time on this planet. So I want to ensure that they continue to have a voice. But when I'm in those schools and hearing those questions from 5th and 6th graders, from teenagers, they're different than the questions that I would have asked when I was their age. They're asking questions about truth and reconciliation and climate change. They're tackling really, really big, important issues, and they want real answers. And they're not satisfied with a political answer. They really want concrete answers, and I love it when I get into a school and have a deep conversation with somebody a quarter of my age. That gives me hope for the future, knowing that young people are really, really interested. If I had an opportunity to give some advice to my 16-year-old self, I think the first thing that I would tell them is not to drop grade 10 French and to practice my French, because I'm taking 3 lessons a week right now, and being over 40 and trying to conquer a new language is a challenge. Mais c'est un travail en progrès.